somebody that knows to say something that triggers. You see, your face is saying something though.
I think the only person is my wife, probably.
Is it publicly? There's like a divorce.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's taking photos with rappers and shit, putting it on Instagram.
No.
Yeah. They try to
Put a fucking knife right in your spirit.
This is the mother of your children, and this lady is a monster. There's a lot of ladies like that because you hooked up with a guy who's an incredibly special human being. You not just a UFC world champion, but a 2-division world champion superstar who the whole world wants to see, and you're his wife. So you're like, oh, look at me. And then he doesn't want to be with you anymore. Well, I'm gonna take you down. Reputation destruction. That's what they really are experts.
Ilia Topuria has finally broken his silence, and the UFC lightweight division feels like it's holding its breath. After weeks of rumors and speculation, he addressed the situation surrounding his divorce and personal struggles. While he didn't share every detail, the message was clear. This isn't gossip or background noise. It's a serious situation that forced him to step away at the peak of his career. Topuria didn't vacate the belt out of fear or avoidance. He stepped back because real life hit hard at the worst possible time.
Actually, I met my wife in Miami.
Really?
Yeah, she was living there.
Damn. Who says you can't meet your wife in Miami?
But you can find your wife in any place in the world.
You hear that? Put that on Only in Date on Instagram. You can meet your wife in Miami.
Alright, let's roll.
Put it on Only in Date. It's hilarious.
Everywhere. But why are you saying that?
Huh?
Why are you
What?
saying that?
Everyone says that.
Because you go to the party and this is the only place
Yeah.
you see. But you don't know the another part of Miami of people that just they want.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Best
need to
place
see
to
that
work
side.
out too, Miami, because you can just walk outside and run the water.
I had to dig into this. I guess I misunderstood. Ilia Topuria made headlines. My belief through the headlines is that Ilia was walking away from the UFC championship belt, thus elevating Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett to undisputed title. Now, once I dug into this, I can't quite recall why I thought it in the first place. I mean, once I dug into it, there was nothing in the article that said that Paddy and Justin was going to be undisputed, or that the UFC was accepting, or that Ilia was surrendering a belt back. And I was talking with Daniel Cormier. Daniel's always got the inside scoop. It's like, hey Daniel, you just got back from calling this event. What is going on there? Is Justin and Paddy moved up? And Daniel said no. He said that essentially in all of these articles and all of these news waves that have now just come out on Ilia Topuria, it's repackaging what we already knew. It was Ilia coming in front of this thing and saying, hey, I'm dealing with some big stresses in my personal life, and one of the great concerns that I have is that there's going to be a claim made against me for domestic violence, and I'm sitting here and I'm just waiting for this shoe to drop. And until it does, and until I can deal with that, try to work my own personal things back into order, I won't be competing. Now, I think a lot of you are going to hear what I just said and go, hey, Chael, you're 2 weeks late on the story. No, that is the story. The story is that this made headlines for something that we were already told a couple of weeks ago, and there is no escalation from that, meaning Ilia Topuria is not vanquishing or having stripped from him the title. It actually, all of these articles going around, all of these stories you're going around, you're hearing about Ilia Topuria have no direct tying to Paddy the Baddy and Justin Gaethje. I get where this is confusing.
Ilia moving up to lightweight. Is it safe to say that Ilia Islam is the fight that we're sort of working toward?
There's still other possibilities. There's a lot of shit going on right now.
Did he vacate the belt, or did you guys say we don't want to hold up the featherweight?
All of this happened right as he became the most feared man in the division. When his aura was strongest and the UFC was building its next dominant champion, that's why the fallout has been pure chaos. The MMA community is split. Some believe the divorce and personal turmoil could keep Topuria sidelined for a long time, even derail him. Others think the opposite, that pain becomes fuel, focus, turns ruthless, and his return could be his most dangerous form yet. But timing matters. If Topuria steps away, the division keeps moving. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is rising fast. And if he gets past Justin Gaethje, everything changes.
Feel that if the UFC gives this fight to Paddy the Baddy, do you think that's the right thing?
It's a mess right now at 155 pounds. It's very difficult to say, Paddy Pimblett, you're next up, when you haven't fought Arman Tsarukyan, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira. I understand Arman weighed in as a backup. I gave you a shot for you to weigh in. You don't make weight. That doesn't make a company very, very happy. And can that company trust you? Who's done more than Justin Gaethje as far as favors for the UFC?
That's not realistic, bro. The UFC moves on, bro. This is how you matchmake it. It does have to be Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett, and you do have to be fair. Give it to Arman. Arman does deserve that shot, bro. Like, straight up.
Who should Paddy the Baddy be fighting next?
Oh, dude. Paddy the Baddy likely is going to fight with Justin Gaethje. But you want to know who doesn't want that fight is Gaethje.
Or Arman Tsarukyan?
That's the thing. So Arman just called him out. Gaethje believes, with the mandate of the masses that he just has, not to mention the risk that he took over Fitzaev. When you take a risk like you're a big star and you take on a guy that dangerous that's lesser known, you get a reward for it. And even though Gaethje's 1-1 in his last 2, just remind you, out of his last 3, 2 of them were title fights. He believes he's the #1 contender. Gaethje believes I don't have to do anything. I can sit here and wait. Gaethje, at some point in his career, has the right to tell the decision makers, we're going to do it my way. He's never pulled that card yet. I feel like as a community, we have to get behind him when it's the only thing he's ever asked for.
What are you going to nickname Justin Gaethje? Nothing. That was easy. Gaethje's. I'm not going to make that stupid mistake James Vick did and call him Homer Simpson and get knocked out. So, to me, he's a legend, lad, and I'm not going to disrespect him. It's as simple as
on the line because Ilia is stepping away, and we don't really know how long and drug out this could be and how long he's going to be away. He keeps pushing it back. Originally, he was saying he was going to be January. Now maybe March, probably something like that. I did think the matchup is interesting. I didn't see that coming. Like I thought potentially those two would be fighting maybe if Ilia was fighting Arman or, you know, however they were going to figure that situation out. But with Arman having come off such a big win recently, that's where I felt like it was an interesting matchup, that he's just getting yet again kind of left on the side of this whole equation. Do I think it's going to be a super exciting fight? Hell yeah, I do. I think it'll be a lot of fun and good for both those guys, and good for Gaethje to get another chance to work his way into that real title picture again. But I don't know. I feel like Arman's getting shafted a little bit in this matchmaking.
Devil's avocado. And you're right. Maybe he is getting shafted because he's #1 contender. However, caveats, he pulled out of a title fight.
True.
You know what I mean? So that, like, you know, he punched a fan on the way to the octagon.
Headbutted Dan Hooker.
Headbutted Dan Hooker at the weigh-ins. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, these are like, it shouldn't matter because it's only what you do inside the octagon. And what he did against, who did he just fight in Doha? Why am I blanking? What he did against Dan Hooker was phenomenal, and the striking was great. We know all that stuff, and he submitted him in the second round. I think, because I understand that I see all the backlash and people are talking shit online, I think this was in the play for a while. Because as we said, I saw Paddy in Doha and he's ripped. He's not Paddy the fat.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
And if Ilia isn't fighting on the first fight night on Paramount, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, don't tell me that's only just over a month away.
Yeah.
They must have that all organized, wrapped up, signed, sealed, and delivered for the first fight night on Paramount to head up this huge deal. So they've had this in the works because Arman, let's be honest, wasn't guaranteed to win that matchup. So they had to have, again, this is assuming, you know,
that stuff was being planned. Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right. And I'm sure you're right that this has already been talked about far before we're getting any news of Ilia postponing his potential title defense and all of that. And also, you know, you want to really kick things off with a bang and some of your biggest stars in the sport when you're talking about moving over to Paramount, new TV deal, numbered events, right? No longer pay-per-views. Paddy Pimblett is who he is and is going to draw crazy eyeballs. And anytime you stick Justin Gaethje in a goddamn octagon, you're going to get craziness. You're going to get an unbelievable fight. It makes sense to me. It really does. I do feel for poor Arman Tsarukyan, who's so fucking good and probably really the truest test for Ilia Topuria and the whole division. Not that Gaethje, not that Paddy can't pull it off. Paddy, I still think has a ceiling that we really haven't seen fully touched yet. I think he's got a lot of room to show us. If he beats Justin Gaethje, you can't say shit about this kid anymore. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, he's got an opportunity to really show, even though Gaethje's been around a long time, he's one of the most violent, dangerous guys in the whole lightweight division. And if he beats him, then look at
Paddy kind of got ahead of, he did a little video where he was saying, you know, if I beat Justin, I know what you're all going to say. He's the man's 37 and he's past his prime. Just like they said when I beat Bobby King Green, that he was old and he couldn't grapple or whatever he said. And he went through every fight. He said, they're always going to say that.
Yeah.
You know?
Suddenly, Paddy isn't just a fan favorite anymore. He's holding an interim title, riding massive momentum, and representing. The biggest comeback story waiting on the other side of Topuria's return? Think about it. Ilia Topuria comes back after divorce, controversy, and months of uncertainty. And standing across from him is Paddy Pimblett, louder and bigger than ever. Holding the belt, Topuria never truly lost.
Some news regarding Ilia Topuria, because I do think that as of this morning, it's probably the biggest news of the day. So obviously by now, you know that he is not fighting on January 24th. You know that he is taking a bit of a break. You know that there's an interim title on the line at UFC 324. You know all that stuff and more. Well, over the weekend, he spoke to ESPN Deportes. I want to play those two clips in a moment, but I want to start with the new news first, if you will, because he posted on Instagram this morning an update on his status, and he also discussed what he's been going through. And I think it's worth reading because this is the most he has said about all this. Over the past several weeks, I've made the difficult decision to temporarily step away from defending my title. This was not a decision I took lightly. However, when circumstances arise that threaten your personal integrity, your family, and your reputation, there comes a point when you must address them directly. In recent months, I have been subjected to severe and unacceptable pressure, including threats to disseminate false allegations of domestic abuse unless financial demands were met. These allegations are entirely unfounded. The truth is not a matter of opinion, it is a matter of evidence. All relevant evidence has been carefully preserved and documented, including audio recordings, written communications, witness statements, and video material. This evidence has been submitted to appropriate judicial authorities in order to pursue legal action for attempted extortion, falsification of evidence, misappropriation of funds, and personal property, and multiple threats. My initial decision to remain silent was made solely to protect my children, who are the most important part of my life. However, I've come to understand that silence under these circumstances does not protect the truth. It allows false narratives to take hold. Many individuals have faced similar situations, and time and again, the legal system has ultimately clarified the facts. Today, I'm stepping forward not only for my family and myself, but also to demonstrate that no one should be forced to yield to intimidation, manipulation, or fear. Those who know me can attest that I have never engaged in violence of any kind, and that my life and career have always been guided by discipline, respect, and integrity. I have full confidence in the judicial process and will allow the legal system to determine the facts based on evidence. Out of respect for my children and the ongoing legal proceedings, I will not be making any further public statements. I respectfully ask that speculation be avoided and that my family's privacy be honored during this sensitive time. The truth does not require volume, it requires facts. Thank you, Ilia Topuria. So that is heavy duty stuff. Obviously, we knew that he was going through some personal issues and there's rumors online, and I didn't want to partake in any of those. I had not heard any of this. I had not heard any of these allegations or rumors, innuendo, any of that. And so you can understand even more so why he would want to step away and not focus on fighting or defending his title, because obviously there's a lot going on. It's extremely sad. It's I feel for everyone involved. I feel for his family. I feel for his kids. It's an awful.
That's pure cinema. Heartbreak versus hype. Silence versus noise. Precision versus chaos. It would instantly become one of the biggest title fights the UFC could make. Bigger than rankings, logic, or merit alone. The question fans are already asking is simple. How long will Topuria be out? 6 months? A year? And when he returns, does he come straight back into a title unification fight?
I knew that this was going to come out. I thought staying quiet was a way to deal with it, but I've now learned when you're quiet in the world of PR, it gives fuel to flames of false narratives. So I'm going to come out and I'm going to let you know that I am expecting sooner or later an accusation to be made about domestic violence. What do we do with the interim belt? I mean, I feel awful for Ilia Topuria, but not having heard any of this story, not having Ilia said that, or getting Daniel to explain it to me, or taking my time and going back and reading through the articles so that I come to you guys and I don't misspeak. Absent of any of that, I would have been able to tell you if it was in fact a personal story, if there was in fact something personally going on with that beautiful girl that pops up on camera as Ilia's headed to the ring, that a claim of domestic violence was going to be involved. I don't attempt to sound cynical in the least. I could have told you the day that the rumors came out that it was a personal something involving her and him, that the words domestic violence were going to get attached to it. I was a little bit more surprised when Ilia came out and got in front of him and says, hey, I can't take this anymore. I'm losing sleep at night over this. Let's rip this Band-Aid off. These words, domestic violence, these words are going to get associated with me.
And let's see when we can see him back in there. As of now, there's no real timeline set in place. He spoke to ESPN Deportes about that, about his decision to walk away. Here's what he had to say, and I'll read the subtitles for you in case you're just listening to the audio. Finally, Ilia, because what the public wants to know, you announced not the first quarter that you'll fight in January. When would you like to fight? When you feel it's time to return? Well, Ilia says, as I've communicated, I'm going through some personal problems. I do not have an exact date when everything will be fixed. I hope that as soon as possible, as soon as it is solved, I will be ready to go back. In the octagon, I prioritize at this time the welfare of my family, of my children, my own. So as soon as everything is solved, I will be back to the octagon to give it the show that everyone deserves. He's then asked if he's going to be there. We are making decisions at this time, whether I'll make the trip on January 24th, but I hope so. I hope so. So that's what he had to say to ESPN Deportes on Saturday. At his own event, WOW FC, I believe that was in Madrid. Interestingly enough, PT alerted me of this. It was actually streaming on Cristiano Ronaldo's YouTube page. So great, publicity. He's now teamed up with them, and they're trying to.
Does the UFC take its time, ease him back, let the dust settle before throwing him into the fire? Then there's the most dangerous possibility of all. What if he returns angrier? What if the time away strips away the smile and patience, leaving only obsession? Fighters have come back from moments like this before, and history shows one truth. Heartbreak either breaks you, or it creates something truly dangerous. Ilia Topuria says he'll be back.
I'm sure you would have preferred to be fighting for the full title, but what does the interim belt mean to you?
I'm still a world champion. Still the UFC world champion. Don't know what's happening with Ilia. You never know. He might end up vacating. It could end up being like Tom Aspinall and getting promoted to being undisputed champion anyway. But for now, while he's out the cage, I am the UFC lightweight world champion. Because he's got things going on, lad, and they're bigger than fighting. So we need to get that stuff sorted before.
Say that, and they do say that, and they kind of might well say that if he beats Justin Gaethje. The reality is, though, Justin looked phenomenal against Rafael Fiziev.
Yeah.
And all right, he got knocked out against Max Holloway. Because I was having this conversation with Callum last night. I went downstairs, he's sitting at the dining room table, studying up a storm because he's got some big test coming up. And we got talking about it. And he's like, why Justin Gaethje, Dad? I said, well, what do you mean? Well, who else is there? I mean, Justin Gaethje's been around for years. He's one of the most exciting guys. He's like, yeah, but it should have been Arman. I said, yeah, but Arman, it wasn't guaranteed he was going to beat Dan Hooker. And what are they going to do? Put Dan Hooker in over Justin Gaethje? You know what I mean? That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, if this has all been getting worked on, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up the rankings so that we can see, like, there is nobody else. I mean, Max would be the other one, but I feel like Max and Charles is already being put into the works for a fight as well, which might have been why we don't see the two of them, because that's what everybody's saying, right? They're saying, why isn't Max involved in this with somebody like Armin, those two guys? Because Max is number 3, Armin is obviously number 1, and instead we're getting the number 4 and the number 5 guy fighting for the interim belt. But again, everyone, it's easy for us to sit on the outside and not be in that war room. That
the division knows it. The UFC knows it. And whether it's Paddy Pimblett, a title unification, or a redemption run fueled by personal pain, one thing is certain: this story is only just beginning. When Ilia Topuria finally walks back into the octagon, it won't just be a comeback, it will be a statement.